Hello citizens, this is Councilor Gian-Carlo, Ward 9 TV Light. This is a special episode dedicated to the Jack Long Elderhouse and a recap of the meeting that I had with proponents and opponents of the project in Inglewood on June 30th in the afternoon on Friday, just this past Friday passed. So what I want to do is sort of give the background that I gave to the gathering there on the site, and there's two things that we have to talk about. We have to talk about that piece of land, and we have to talk about the Jack Long Foundation and their work towards achieving Elderhouse. And then the final thing we have to talk about is a move forward process, because I made some promises there that have always been my intention, and what I was asked is, can we put this into writing? And I honestly, frankly, don't have time to write anything down right now, so we will speak it to you, and then we will include that in the summary of this report. So the first thing is that piece of land that the community considers a park, in behind Colonel Walker, is the former right-of-way of the Blackfoot Trail. And so the 1960 plan for the city of Calgary that envisioned a number of freeways converging on top of Inglewood and basically wiping out the neighborhood. Those plans were battled back by the community, and the only freeway that was actually built on top of Inglewood was the Blackfoot Trail. And it was supposed to take the original route of that Alyth Road through the neighborhood and right past the school site. And when it became very clear that the community was not going to be able to prevent the reclassification and the upgrading of that road from a more quiet neighborhood street to a more of a freeway standard, the community unanimously supported the idea that they would push it as far away from the school as possible. And so the Blackfoot Trail sweeps through Inglewood past the truck stop. It does not sweep past the truck stop on the other side and then past the schoolyard. And that land that was sort of left over was set aside and zoned in the 1970s for multifamily development. On top of that, it was AVPA exempted, so the Airport Protection Vicinity Area, which prevents sort of the upzoning of certain parts of the neighborhood and has been, loomed large and been forgotten, and loomed large and been forgotten over the course of planning history in the neighborhood since the 1970s. That was one of the original sites that was exempted and zoned for multifamily. Now, of course, the problem is that there are two MR, Municipal Reserve Park sites, on two vacant lots on the edges of this project. Also in the 1980s, a Habitat for Humanities project was put in right in the middle of it. And so when the Jack Long Foundation, after years and years of work in, Jack Long was one of the leaders in the community of Inglewood who fought against the freeway plans, who fought for the heart and soul of the neighborhood, who fought for local area planning, who fought because every person is a planner and it should have a role in deciding the future of their neighborhood. His leadership, of course, protected Inglewood. His leadership took him to City Hall, where he spent one term as the Ward 9 alderman. In his legacy, several of amazing Inglewood residents, most notably Shirley Ann Rubin, have been working towards his vision of Inglewood as a place that is mixed use, mixed income, and provides housing opportunities for people of all ages, stages, and wages. And the single biggest housing crisis we have in Inglewood right now is for independent living seniors who want to continue to live in community and age in place. And after years and years of work, the foundation has found itself in a position where they have their concept for Elderhouse, which is sort of a co-housing mansion apartment for seniors. And they approached me and they said, we're ready to go on this. And I said, well, let's look at some pieces of land. And what I had in mind was the MR zoned vacant lot on the edge of Alyth Road. And the idea would be that we would swap the MR pieces, the parcels, for the multifamily zone parcels, because I know that the community views those internal parcels as a park, and those are the ones that are zoned for upzoning, and they view the vacant lots as vacant lots and not as parks, and those will never be parks. And so my first effort was to get council to agree to give them the park and to start pursue a swap so we can protect that internal green space as much as possible. What we learned through that process was that the land, specifically the piece of land that we looked at for the Jack Long Elderhouse, was too encumbered by all kinds of servicing issues, pipes under the ground, power lines, to be effective for Elderhouse. It was just There's room to develop a bit of that site, so the land swap idea is still on, but it didn't work for Elderhouse, and Elderhouse has a ticking time bomb to try and get their funding and everything in place. And so through consultation with the community, first for the first move and then with the second move, we decided what we would do is give them a swap and give them a piece of the multifamily zone land. And I thought that we had done a good enough job, that they had done a good enough job, that the community association had done a good enough job letting everybody know. And what we discovered is that people weren't 100% informed. And there were some people who were very upset with what was happening. And that's why we met on June 30th, this past Friday, on site to discuss everything. So that's basically where we are. Council made the decision to allow Jack Long Elderhouse to purchase this piece of land, and they are moving forward, and a development permit application is in. That development permit application was delayed in terms of commenting from the community association, and it will be reviewed by the redevelopment committee this June 5th. And so the redevelopment committee sort of weighs in and views it and looks at it. And so where we're at right now is with that particular piece of land, that part of the multifamily zone, hopefully most of it to be turned into park, will become a mansion apartment for Inglewood independent living seniors. And what we have the opportunity now as citizens to do is to comment on the actual design of the project, things that we can impact at that point. Now, with regard to the rest of the site, I still remain committed to putting as much development where it's appropriate and create as much park space as where it's desired. And so when Council changed its original decision to put Elderhouse against Aylith Road and to move it onto an internal parcel, what Council also agreed to was that we would sit down with the community over the next year or so and explore what land is developable of that whole remaining right-of-way, what land is not developable. Then we would talk about what land we wanted to be park and what land we were willing to allow to become development in order to, through those land sales, fund turning what we were saving as park in perpetuity as a really nice park. So we've got really a two-step design process. It's really what can we build on, what can't we, and then of the stuff that we can build on, what are we willing to build on, and what could and should those land sales fund to create a really nice park. And so that was my commitment to the community from the start. That remains my commitment to the community. And over the next year or so, we will be having this conversation, and that will be folding into the new Inglewood ARP and locked in policy as it comes forward at the end of 2018. So that's where we're at. That's my commitment. That is what Council's committed to, and that's what the Real Estate Development Services Department and what the Urban Strategies Department are working together to achieve. And right now, we are just on a little bit of scoping and hold because of the upcoming election. So that's where we're at. There will be a lot more work started in the fall and over the course of the next year. Looking forward to working with you. I think this is a major win-win for everyone. And I think it was a tough but very good meeting we had that Friday where people started to understand the opportunities and the constraints and the opportunity that we have to move forward and really lock in some of this integral central land as not just a park, but a much higher quality park than we currently have. So looking forward to that. Talk to you soon. Councillor Gian-Carlo signing off.